We have all heard of Michael Jordan, whether it be from TV, from being an actual fan, or from the loudmouth boys in class feeling compelled to argue about him daily. That name has been all too familiar. Now we can all assume, and most likely agree, that he's a great player, but has he really influenced sports more than anyone else? Today I'm here to refute how Michael Jordan has influenced the game on and off the court, how he changed the game was played, and also his fashion line. Let's first talk about Michael Jordan on the court. ESPN granted Michael as the best basketball player of all time. Although, according to Zoom10.com, Michael played in an era when the new teams were just being created. That being said, those teams were not as did not have as much quality as his own players, and they are also filled with less experienced team members, meaning that the quality of the NBA during that time was diluted. Michael Jordan may have had great shooting stats, although none of them would have been possible without his teammate Scottie Pippen. Also found on Zoom10.com, Scottie defended Michael, which then led Michael to being overglorified since he was the one shooting. Pippen even had a better career-winning record than Michael Jordan. On that note, take into consideration the person doing the dirty work just to make the shooter look good. All the teams Michael played in the playoffs were overrated. For example, Magic Johnson was on his way out, James Worthy was not as effective as he was in the 80s, and with that being said, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was out, meaning Michael didn't have to work as hard as thought of first by the Basketball Society. Now let's move on to how the game was played by Michael Jordan. As has been stated in the original speech, Michael made basketball more of an individual sport, although that shouldn't be thought of as a positive thing and rather a negative thing. What's the point of having a team if you're not going to use them and make it your own personal show? Michael would have never been as popular if it wasn't for his teammates making him look good. Because Michael was such a big ball hog, he prevented the Bulls from making it out of the first round of the playoffs in his first 3 seasons in the league. In 1988, Michael Jordan became known for his great win on the slam dunk contest against Dominic Wilkins. Doing this made him popular for his move and dubbed him as the king of slam dunks. A report found at BleacherReport.com states that Jordan even admitted that Wilkins should have won. Jordan said, "Hey, you probably won. You know it, I know it, but hey, you're in Chicago, so what can I tell you?" The contest was more of a come and try to beat a man who has the title already under his belt by default. With that being said, it is unsure if Michael is truly the king of the slam dunk contest. Finally, let's talk about Michael Jordan and his influence with fashion. Many believe that Michael Jordan influenced basketball's fashion the greatest. Yes, he changed the uniform shorts, although that the Fab Five actually made the baggy shorts concrete uniforms starting at even the college level. They were a great controversy in basketball world, dealing with their fashion and their attitude. Known as the Bad Boys, BleacherReport.com explains how these freshmen with big egos shocked the world. They wore the baggy shorts, the black shoes, black socks, and had an attitude, but it was backed by actual skill. The Fab Five continuously has influenced the NCAA league more than Jordan did, yet has been overshone by Jordan because of his flashy titles. Lastly, we all know that Jordan has a shoe line. I think we can all agree that there's a lot of hype behind it. Although, according to HighSnobiety.com, Jordan's hype has decreased while shoes from Curry and LeBron are increasing in popularity and sales. In conclusion, today's basketball fans have given way too much glory to Michael Jordan. Was he a great player? Yes, but the key word is was. New players are showing more potential to beat Jordan's stats without being known as a notorious ball hog or automated contest winner. Being known for short shoes and fashion and overall popularity shouldn't get you known as the greatest contributor to sports. Let's take it back to what sports achievement should really be based on, which is pure talent and ability, not how much your shoes have sold for or how often you can hug a ball.
Being the first person that actually did a shoe deal.
I don't care about either side. I had to. You know how hard it is to find stuff?
Oh, I'm sure it was, bro. No, that would have been hard.
Yours. What was the other one? Yours was hard one. Yeah.
That's true.
All right. I thought you did a pretty good job finding evidence to respond to that issue. I thought you found a couple of good things. The whole analysis on the first point about the impact that he had on the game because of the dilution of the teams. We've got a whole bunch of new teams in the league, that sort of thing. And that their early success that they had was against aging teams. Now, you did have the one example about the Lakers. I think there were probably... the Bulls won 3 championships in a row starting then, but the question then is who were the other teams that they were beating, same sort of thing. I think there's probably additional argument you can make that the teams that they were taken on at that particular point were either aging teams or they were young teams that didn't have the same kind of experience. I like the argument about Scottie Pippen also. I thought that was an interesting way of doing it. I suppose that there are Jordan haters out there who would go that way and use Pippen as the way of kind of attacking him. Calling him a ball hog, I think, maybe is a little mean, but you know, what the heck. It works. It works. I like the idea on the second point when you talk about making it more an individual sport. I think there's a good assumption built in here. Why is that a good thing? Why is it that we want this to be an individualized sport? If that's the case, why don't we just watch people play horse or watch the dunk contest on a regular basis instead of having teams compete with one another? I think there's a good question to be asked there, and you raised those issues pretty well. The discussion about the dunk contest is okay. I thought that was all right. There's that one quote that says because he was a ball hog the first 3 seasons that he was in the league, his team didn't even make the playoffs. I think that's a pretty good point. I think you could use a little bit more evidence on that particular issue, but the idea there is pretty solid. Now, I think on the third point that's interesting that you suggest that there's really another explanation about what made the fashion change, and it's really about the NCAA team and the influence it had. I think there's probably a good argument to be made that because that change occurred at the collegiate level, that it's much more likely to have an impact in the long run than Jordan's adopting the same style at the NBA level, because there are so many more players at that particular level, and that's where the change is going to be made, that they're emulating that sort of thing. The shoe line thing, I don't remember if that was the Advocates' only evidence on that particular point. It's probably an important point. I don't know. I think you've got a good point here. It says, look, it was the case, but now his shoes, those shoes are being outsold by others, and there are other kinds of new stars come along, that sort of thing. So was he influential in his time? Absolutely. Was he an important player? Absolutely. Was he a great player? Absolutely. But does that mean that he changed the game or altered the way things are done? I think you've got a good point here to make that suggests that that's a little bit overstated. Sort of like the previous speech on football. It's not so much that you're saying saying good things about Michael Jordan is silly. It's not. It's perfectly legitimate, but you're overstating your case about the impact that he had, and I think that's a good summary of the argument that you're making there. All right, thank you.